All right, we're live on YouTube. Go ahead, Steve, take it away.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of DFS and Dynasty with Eat Sleep Fantasy. I am Steve Spacratelli at SPAC21. We have a ton of shit to go through. Thank God my man JL_Chapman, both of those names are on Twitter. That's where you find us, is with me today to go over all of this information. So, John, how the hell are you today, man?
Dude, I am psyched. It's football season. We had our very first football game last night, the Hall of Fame game. There wasn't much to take away from it, but football nonetheless, and penalties, actually. Football and penalties.
It's like Christmas, dude. It's, I got up yesterday giddy. You would go to bed Wednesday night knowing that football is right around the corner. It was Christmas. It was a great night.
It was fun, and the game wasn't great as far as games go. It's the Hall of Fame game. It never is. But I woke up this morning, and if you follow me on Twitter, I put together a little montage of every play of Lamar Jackson. He was kind of the biggest player involved, and I threw that up there on Twitter. So if you want to find that, just type in Lamar Jackson compilation on Twitter, and it'll pull up for you. So if you want to see how he didn't play too great. But hey.
And if you think that's good coverage there, folks, this is what'll make it even more impressive. It was under several influences of Jameson last night. So
much Jameson. I I think I went to bed. I live, outside of LA. And so I went to bed at 9 o'clock last night. Like I was out.
Well, hopefully your liver wasn't yelling at you too bad this morning. But
I got too excited.
As you should have. So, John, today we have Dynasty galore. A lot of news that has gone on since late last week. Unfortunately, we're just now recording. Hopefully, it would have been nice to get some of this stuff to you guys earlier in the week, but, life happens. So we have training camp updates. We have updates on our listener league and giveaway. And then for our next episode, that is right, next episode number 2 for the week, prices are up on DraftKings. And we also want to talk about FanDuel, the fact that FanDuel got rid of kickers and added a flex, and DFS breakdown. So jumping into the news, I just want to be out there and publicly shame myself here.
This is so happy. Go ahead, man. This is wonderful.
Whatever, man. As I said yesterday, I hate your face. It's stupid. But anyways, I have been a big proponent of the fact that Jordan Matthews might resurrect his career, having a golden opportunity in New England. And unfortunately, he has shit the bed. And he is on IR with a hamstring injury. And so if you don't want to listen to any fantasy advice from me ever again, I understand, but I just wanted to come out here and publicly shame myself for this. So, John, go ahead. Let it happen.
I love that you're being so hard on yourself. I can be it's okay. Add a kid. You weren't wrong. You can't predict injury. And that's the thing. All these fantasy talk and all this stuff. This isn't a perfect situation. He was taking snaps with the ones at the slot position, and once he got injured, it was just done. So they basically put him on IR. He was on a 1-year deal, so he is basically done. And then they brought in Eric Decker. So Eric Decker is going to be fighting with Philip Dorsett and Braxton Berrios for that slot position for the New England Patriots for the first 4 weeks.
I would like to see Berrios win it because his name sounds like a cereal.
It does. Berrios, Cheerios. There you go.
So
whoever does win that position is going to be a fantasy asset for the first 4 weeks. Big time. Dynasty-wise, Berrios is about the only guy that I would value there. But yeah.
Yeah, no. So a little bit more wide receiver news, and this is really kind of interesting because this is something that we've been talking about now for weeks on end. The wide receiver 2 battle in Indianapolis, and it's even more intriguing with the fact that still seeing good things out of Andrew Luck. So that battle is up between Chester Rogers, rookie Deion Kane, and Ryan Grant. And those guys have all been producing in camp. Now, Grant is still my favorite to be the slot guy. I think he's going to eventually come away from that so-called wide receiver to the guy that, plays that receiver opposite of T.Y. Hilton. And I think that's going to be more Rodgers and Deion Kane. But yeah, it's a good battle. All three guys have been producing.
Yep. Yeah, it's solid too. And Andrew Luck's looking good. He's getting his day off that they scheduled, and everything seems to be pretty good, man. You can't get T.Y. Hilton early enough. He is insanely undervalued right now.
I love that stack that I got in our Writers League with those two. And that's super flex.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. But Doug Baldwin, on the other hand, is likely to miss preseason with a knee injury. Hopefully, he will be back and ready for the start of the regular season, because he's a guy that's, in my opinion, in PPR formats, because I think this is going to be the first big year that Doug Baldwin could be really valued in PPR. So he's going a little bit later, not by much, but a little bit later than I'm expecting him for what, what I'm envisioning this season for the Seattle offense. And he's a guy that's could possibly slide down the board a little bit more with this injury and the potential concerns ahead. So this is a guy that I think you can get a lot of value for.
Yep. And 5 straight seasons without missing a game. He is very, very dependable. He's getting a little bit older. He's up there. He will be 30 right at the start of the season. September 21st is his birthday. But I still think that, man, he's the only show in town. And he's going to be solid. So he will have 1,000+ yards with another 8 touchdowns on top of that. So you're talking about worst case scenario wide receiver 2. And don't be too scared off by this knee injury. Again, I love these things. When this happens, I send out trade offers. I try to get them.
You would, because you're just a dirty birdie like that. You
dirty
are.
SOB.
Jesus.
That's what my mom used to call me.
You guys out in California.
But
anyways. I love it. So Chris Thompson himself is saying that he's not expecting to be 100% until November, which seems weird to me. Because in camp, from what I'm understanding, he hasn't looked like the same guy. But what's really odd about this situation to me is that the medical staff has come out and said he should be fine by now. So it's very hard to say how this is going to escalate. And as this has come out more and more over the last week now, Geis's value is continuing to rise a little bit. And I think Geis is a guy that is very capable of catching the ball out of the backfield. So if it is going to take Thompson a little bit more time to be involved in the offense on the passing side of the ball, anyways, as much as he was last year, he definitely does not need to be taking handoffs the way that he had been, up until his injury last year. So, there could be potential, even more value and more volume than expected for Geis.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, he snapped his leg in half. He snapped it in half, and
it was a clean break. And the medical staff, that they watch that shit really closely, man. And I think they're puzzled because they're saying he should be fine by now.
Right. And so I don't think this is as much a health issue as I don't think he's in pristine shape to be where he is. And I think that's what he was talking about. Not so much his legs not. I don't think he's to the point where he sees himself as 100% yet. But
could be, because it is kind of a convoluted statement, but I don't know. It seems weird.
Because they didn't put him on the PUP. And the PUP for preseason is nothing. Like if you miss 2 days, they'll put you on the PUP. It's not a big deal. You can take them off at any time. But the PUP, once the initial 53-man roster after week 4 of the preseason, then you're out 6 weeks minimum. So the fact that he didn't even make the PUP and, with the preseason list, I don't know. I think he's going to be all right. I'm not Austin. I don't think everybody's going to die after they are injured. But
he's gonna break his other leg in half this year.
I love me some Chris Thompson this year. I believe in him.
Well, I do too, and I hope my worries are wrong, because I'm really looking at some value out of him as a guy providing some depth for a couple of my PPR leagues. No, shut your face. Again, it's stupid. So, Stephon Diggs, big contract, and this is kind of interesting. This almost makes signing Thielen, I believe it was last year, to his contract of value. I mean, Diggs 5 years, $72 million with 40 guaranteed, and I'm not sure. I don't know if it includes this year or what, but I had seen Ian Rappaport tweet out that the
Yeah, it's an
contract could be a
extension,
total
so
of like 81 million or 82 million or something like that altogether.
right. Yeah, it's an extension, and so some of that will be placed on, but it comes out to about 14 million a year, which I mean, that's shoot. I think that's a steal if he stays healthy.
Right.
Problem is if he
Yeah.
stays healthy. He hasn't done that very much. He's never played a full season. He's 3 years in. He's never played more than 14 games. So
I was just gonna say, I think it's at least 14 games every year that he's played.
yeah, at 9 his rookie year, 11, and then 14. So that's kind of where he's at. So last year he played the most games ever, but he's never had 1,000-yard season. He's never had more than 8 touchdowns, and so we'll have to see. Kirk Cousins is a beast, and my favorite thing about, I'm a big film guy and reception perception.
You are?
I am
Since
a big
when?
film guy. Yeah,
Never know.
exactly.
I never see your shit on Twitter, so I don't know.
My favorite thing about Diggs is what he does against man coverage. Like, he is unreal. He's one of the best wide receivers against man. So that lets you know he's going to be successful no matter what the situation. You can't scheme him out of production. You just got to stay healthy.
Yeah, and he is too, man. He's like a nightmare matchup. He's just a strong guy, physical. He can go up and get the 50-50 ball. He can create space. He has great hands. So, yeah, I can. What this guy does in 14 games a season, it'd be nice to see what a full 16-game season would be out of him.
Right.
But, moving on to Julio Jones, we've heard contract talks between him and Atlanta over the last few weeks, and apparently they worked out a revised contract. So, Atlanta moved almost 3 million, 2.9 from next year to this year, and combined it with $1.5 million base from this year's salary, and giving him $4.4 million signing bonus that's payable over the 17 weeks of the season. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but this is a very similar situation to what happened with Antonio Brown last year or 2 years ago when they restructured his.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And basically what they said is, look, we're just going to move something from, because he still has 3 years left. We're going to move cash from the third year to now, and then we'll renegotiate next year with you. And
yeah, so they'll take some of the backload and move it to the front, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not really a big deal. It's a way for both of them to save face and to keep that relationship positive, which the Falcons, I mean, he's their guy. So you want to keep him happy. Smart move. Really good. I love the ownership there. Blank knows what he's doing. There's a few programs that stay legit and competitive, and it has to do with the front office and ownership and GM, and I love what they do.
And he is a fair guy, and the players like him. The players like playing for him, and he has some loyalty to a fault, but he's also not a dummy when it comes to the business side of the ball.
It's in his DNA. The loyalty is inside his DNA.
Yeah. So now
it's Kendrick Lamar. I don't know.
So moving on. Oh dear Lord. So anyways, the young man,
yes,
tight end for Tennessee, who everybody was high on last year as the future. You may not want to be so high on him because apparently Tennessee likes Delaney Walker enough to give him an extension that's worth $17 million with an $8 million signing bonus. So, what is it? Is it Jonnu Smith or whatever the hell his name is?
Yeah,
Jonnu
Smith. Yeah.
So, if you're excited about him, you might want to take it down a few pegs because Delaney Walker is clearly still going to be involved with this team in this offense.
Crazy.
2020.
He turns 34 next week. He just signed a 3-year extension. Now, I will say
Ben Watson's still doing it. Look how long TJ did it.
Yeah.
Or TG.
He's done it. I mean, he has had over 800 yards 4 straight years, And I mean, he's a beast. You know, I'm a Niners guy. He didn't get a lot of usage his first 4 to 5 years in the league. So I get it. He's stayed relatively healthy. He plays all out. Love this guy, especially with the new offense. He is going to be a huge guy as far as targets go in this offense. I'm pretty pumped. I think him and Corey Davis are going to be fighting for most receptions.
Yeah, it's possible. I still like Taiwan Taylor. If he's going to hurt anybody, it would be Delaney Walker if he's even relevant. But what I like about Delaney Walker, though, is that his floor is consistent. You know what you're going to get out of him. Anytime I've had him, I've never expected huge games out of him. If I got it, great bonus for my team that week. But he's just a guy that you can draft in that position that I just don't really value all that well. And I know what I'm going to get out of him every week. So I know I have that. That's one roster spot that I don't have to think about. I can just draft the rest of my team, looking at, who I'm going to start in depth throughout the season.
And I'll say this too, his week 1 and week 2 matchups are solid. He's got Miami and Houston, and they were both in the bottom 4 as far as most points given up to the tight end. So he is a DFS watch for me. I've already got him circled. So
yeah, and the game against Houston, I don't think that's a game where Tyrann Mathieu is going to be able to focus on him, because there are more pieces in that offense now.
Yeah.
Sony Michel seemed to have tweaked something, left the field under his own power, but he didn't return to practice. I have not really seen or heard anything more. I don't know. What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's so hard to talk about anything with the Patriots because they hate fans.
Everything's under the hat.
Everything is. They don't mind recording other people's practices, but they do not share about their own practices. So burden there. I felt good about that.
If you're going to try and take from others, you definitely don't put your dirty laundry out there, right? So
no, I want to know.
Hey, it's like I always say, you're not trying if you're not cheating, John. That's just what it comes down to.
Smart Grace, baby. The old Chicago Cub. I love it. Hell yes.
Oh, man, that's epic. So Rashard Matthews is on the pup with an undisclosed injury. And this is interesting because this is a guy that going into this season, I kind of had some hopes that you could maybe get a really good year out of him because he is in a contract year. Corey Davis is the guy of the future. Rashard Matthews has proven to be a solid wide receiver during his career. Nothing spectacular, but he's been a solid piece for offenses out there. So what really intrigues me about this is why is it undisclosed? What is going on? Is this going to be a potential season-long injury? Do they need to look at it more before they let it all out? Who the hell knows?
And he's older, I mean, he's 20. He's about to be 29 years old, and this lets Taiwan Taylor get in there. You brought him up earlier. This affects him more than anybody. Corey Davis is kind of solidified as an outside guy. He's going to be that guy. Now, whoever you determine as the wide receiver 1 or whatever, Corey Davis is going to be out there. Now, the opposing side is Rashard Matthews. Again, new coaching staff. The old coaching staff loved Matthews, but new coaching staff, and Taiwan Taylor kind of fits that Robert Woods style that we saw with the Rams. And so that's the kind of issue that's here is, man, it's open because Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator that came over from the Rams, he loves those athletes that can do stuff with the ball, and that is Taiwan Taylor to a T.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. I really hope this does open things up for Taiwan because he was the guy I really liked last year for dynasty owners to kind of stash on a taxi squad if they could. Being the fact that Matthews was there and Corey Davis came in and, they had the viewed backfield that they had last year that DeMarco Murray really wasn't a big part of as he was the year before. So I really do hope this works out in favor for Taiwan Taylor. But here's a name that may surprise everybody that he is off the pup in training camp And mind you, he is rocking a pretty solid mullet right now, and that's Tyler Eifert.
Respect for the mullet, right? Like that
Right,
makes you
dude.
tougher a little bit.
Well, I mean, the guy's been a freaking shell of a man, so I guess he's got to do something to make himself look tough.
Yeah, and I'll say this: he's practicing off to the side, like he's not a full participant in all the drills. But the fact that he is out there is insane. Yeah, we got to remember this is a guy that put up 13 touchdowns in one season from the tight end position. That is very rare, and it's the same type of offense that is there, same coaching staff. So if he is healthy, if that is a gigantic if, he's a great gamble
Big
on weekly
capital
play. Yeah.
bold letters. If big capital bold letters, but I think the guy understands he has something to play for though too, because he signed a 1-year deal
Yeah.
to stay in Cincinnati. So he's got to go out there and prove it if he wants to have a future in the NFL. Here's a name that it's very sad to see this. I hope he does come back this year, and I hope it doesn't affect him in the long term. And that's Elijah McGuire, who did have surgery, I believe, on Monday on his fractured foot. Expected to miss only 3 to 6 weeks. To me, that seems a bit optimistic, considering what we experienced with guys like Greg Olsen last year, for example. I don't know. I would definitely lean towards the 6-week side and possibly more than that.
The foot injuries for wide receivers and running backs are a bigger deal than any other position. And especially with the small shifty guy, there were reports coming out that Bilal Powell was going to be cut right before this. Like he wasn't going to make the roster. Those were the rumors, but now absolutely.
Wow, really? Overalls?
Yeah.
I missed that.
I know it. Well, that's the thing is they see Bilal as that third down guy, which they love Elijah McGuire. And so they didn't want 2 third down guys or third down specialists. Bilal Powell's getting old, man. He's 30 years old, so he's getting up there.
I love how the one guy says that Elijah McGuire has LaDainian Tomlinson type capabilities. You just can't come and put a guy like that
That's ridiculous.
To a name of a caliber player such as LaDainian Tomlinson.
That's ridiculous.
But so over in New Orleans, a guy that I think could be a very good fit over there, opposite of Michael Thomas, is not on the PUP and practicing without any limitations whatsoever after suffering a torn ACL and MCL last preseason, and that is Cam Meredith. Him and Michael Thomas, if Meredith can be anywhere close to that glimpse that we saw in his rookie season in Chicago, being paired up with Michael Thomas, if we see a glimpse of the Benjamin Watson that we saw last year, Kamara and Ingram stay on the same pace, Drew Brees could be very, very dangerous, and that entire offense and that team with an improved defense can be very, very dangerous this year.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is he's already getting reps with the starters and 2 wide receiver sets. He's getting snaps over Ted Ginn. Now, obviously, Ted Ginn's going to have a role, whether that's just as a vertical specialist or in 3 wide receiver sets, but they love Cameron Meredith. And if you remember back with his days, they were short with the Bears when he was healthy. He was dominant. He made me some money in DFS, man. I won 2 tournaments during that stretch just because, man, he was so cheap, and he put up back-to-back games with over 100 yards and a touchdown and was just a target monster. So we'll see what happens, but this is one of those sneaky plays that you can get super cheap right now. And if he takes off and stays healthy in that offense, it's going to be nice. Going to be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gives Drew Brees that target that he hasn't had in a couple of years, and that's that guy that can just go up and get the damn ball. I mean, we've seen it from Michael Thomas, but he really hasn't had anybody since Jimmy Graham that you can just throw it up there and let him go get it. And that's what we saw big time out of Cam Meredith. Is he was a great 50-50 ball wide receiver. So that gives Brees that option there, and I can't wait to see if that works out. So moving on to Houston, Deontay Foreman is on the PUP and the Texans are not sure if he'll be ready for the start of the season, which doesn't surprise me, man. I mean, it's an Achilles injury, and it happened later in the year. You know, that's nothing easy to come back from, and it was such a heartbreaker to see that because I had him pegged late season to take over that role from Lamar Miller, and he was well on his way there, and he was well on his way to be the lead dog this year.
Gosh,
So,
he killed it, man.
Oh yeah, he did.
It. And I'll tell you this: in one of my dynasty leagues where I have a very solid roster, and my team's very, very good, I have no space for competing running backs. Like I have Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Ingram, and Jerick McKinnon. Like I
Melvin
stacked.
Ingram.
Sorry, I did it again.
What is this man love that you have for Melvin Ingram? Am I missing something here?
Yes, sorry. Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon. I apologize. I put them together and it's like Transformers, you know, or Captain Planet with our powers combined. Anyway, Lord. Having said that, I went ahead.
Even know this guy at the time.
I know. I went ahead and targeted Deontay Foreman in several of my leagues because, again, I'm not looking for somebody that can compete right now because I'm loaded at that position. I'm looking for a high ceiling play for the next year because if he does come back, he's going to be on the pup to start the season. He's not going to play in the first 6 weeks. However, if he does come back, you're talking about a guy that is a possible RB1 in that offense. The O-line sucks for Houston. I get that. But with Deshaun Watson back there, he's going to create a lot of angles. So I like Foreman. I really, really do. He's just, you got to be patient.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need a little bit more time. I wouldn't count on him this year. You know, I would take the approach this year as you would have with him last year as a rookie. And really kind of in a way look towards next year. You may be lucky and get something out of him this year, but it's really hard to say. Now, another running back that I want to talk about, and it's such a shame, but Kenneth Dixon, out with a hamstring injury, and he's been out since last Thursday. Now, I like Kenneth Dixon. We always see good reports about this guy in the preseason and in camp. But when does he show up? Is it time to officially just give up on this guy? I mean, is he the next Jordan Matthews of hamstring injury?
He's close. I mean, he's going at round pick 186. So he is the 57th running back off the board. He's free. But if he wins that job, you know, him and Buck Allen are competing for that backup role, which I don't think it's a competition if he's healthy because they cut Buck Allen last year whenever Dixon was healthy and then brought him back after he got hurt. So it seems like they like Dixon, but he can't get out of his own way. Hamstring injuries are preventable. It's soft tissue. You're dehydrated. You're not warmed up. You're out of shape. Like these are the reason why we have conditioning tests. And anytime I see tweaked a hamstring from a skill guy, I automatically shake my head. Like you gotta take care of yourself. Got to take care of yourself.
So I would definitely have a hamstring issue. I mean, I'm a well-hydrated guy.
You are a machine, sir.
But I'm not in the greatest shape, so I would probably have hamstring
hasn't
problems.
Been used in a while. You're like the Mater truck on Cars.
Who does not like a tow Mater? Come on.
All right. Sorry about that.
So before we talk about this next guy, first off, what the hell is a sesamoid bone? Do you know? I didn't even Google it.
It's by the upper dorsalis latimus, over by the trianguloid clavicle.
Right. See, you know, you must have stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night because you know what you're talking about. So, anyways, Jordan Reed, apparently he just had these bones removed from his big toes. I mean, there's just bones in your body I guess you don't need. And those apparently for some people, that's one of them. And this was, from what's being said, the driving force for his toe injuries. And has been a hindrance on his hamstring problems. So he says he feels 100 times better. Now, I was watching NFL Network the other day, and they had head coach Jay Gruden on there, and they said, he was saying that Jordan looks good. He looks healthy. Their main focus for him right now is to get him to the regular season at 100%. Now, we've all seen an 80-90% Jordan Reed produce phenomenal numbers. So if he comes in healthy with him and Crowder, Geis, Thompson, I mean, I know some people like Paul Richardson. We saw some good things out of him in Seattle. I don't care about Josh Doxson anymore. I don't care about any other wide receiver on that team. Crowder, Reed, Thompson, Geis, with Captain Checkdown, Alex Smith, that could be a pretty good offense.
Yeah, and Alex Smith likes his tight end. We saw what he did with Vernon Davis back in the day with the 49ers, which Vernon Davis is still with Washington. He's the backup guy there. And we saw what he did with Kelsey. He was the number one tight end back-to-back years. And, man, we understand Reed's ceiling. He was the number 2 fantasy tight end back in 2015, and he only played 14 games. I mean, the guy is unreal. It's just hell. So if you do draft, if you are one of those guys that goes out and gets Reed in a deep league, save one of your last 2 picks to pick up Vernon Davis, just so you don't have to worry about it. Because if he goes out, Vernon Davis is automatically going to be a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a guy that you can get relatively cheap right now. There's a portion of this show that we're going to get into that I almost put him as one of my targets there, but just his history recently, I really don't want to get that high on him. But anyways, moving along, that was a lot of news.
It was a lot, and it's going to be like that from now on, which is great. We've gone through the abyss. We have come out the other side. So
football season is back. So now, John, with that being said, got a little bit of housekeeping to do. Why don't you go ahead and talk about ESFU and Listener League and some of the other fun stuff that we got to take care of?
Yeah, man, there's so much stuff going on right now with Eat Sleep Fantasy. We are adding new writers. We got new content coming out, but we are still adding to our draft kit. If you have not already bought our draft kit, you are missing out. It is videos. We've got articles. We've got different visual things that aren't on the website. I mean, it's unreal. Every single format that you could dream of, which we're going to talk a little bit about a little bit later. But head over to the website, eatsleepfantasy.com, and buy that freaking draft kit. I promise you will not be disappointed.
That freaking draft kit. Just buy it.
Buy it. Buy it. Do it. Now, all right, let's jump over to the Listener League that we are starting up, and this is awesome. We have received over 20 entries so far, so just in case you don't know what's going on, Fantasy Jocks has given us a big boy trophy belt. It is a WWE-style wrestling fantasy football championship belt, $120 for this bad boy. They just gave it to us for free, and we are going to give it to you for free. Here's how you win it. If you are a platinum member over at Eat Sleep Fantasy, you are automatically in if you want that. So we are going to give 7 spots to the platinum members over there, and we're reserving 5 for you guys. And here is how you get it. I'm giving away 1 spot right now. Is that okay, Steve? Can I give away 1 spot right now?
This one, I think this one...
We were going to read it.
Definitely deserves it. I think we should read it, and it definitely deserves it because it'll give you guys an idea.
So the kind of
fun things we're looking at.
So here's what you got to do. First off, you have to go subscribe to our podcast, DFS and Dynasty. Just type in DFS on iTunes, and it's the first or second one that shows up. We're back and forth right now. And all you got to do is rate it 5-star and leave an awesome review. Screenshot that and email it over to us at dfsanddynasty@gmail.com. And here's an example. Okay, this is from jmost828. And I quote, "My life was in a rut. Every day was the same. Same wife, same kids, same go nowhere job. I didn't have any major prospects of something better. Then, one day, while looking for a new content, I discovered Eat Sleep Fantasy's DFS and Dynasty podcast. Suddenly, life had meaning. I remarried, had better kids, got a better job, and my outlook of life was substantially improved. I'm suddenly handsome and in great shape, and I owe it all to this podcast. If it wasn't for this show, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be face down in a drained pool somewhere. So
it's epic.
That is amazing. So JMost828, you are in. Now we still have 4 spots, and just because you already submitted your there's lots of other good ones. That one though was by far the best, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We're still giving away 4 spots. So if you already submitted, don't worry, you still have a chance, but go get on your wife's iTunes account and leave a review. Get another shot. So again, review us on iTunes, screenshot it with your phone or computer, and email us that screenshot at dfsanddynasty.com. Or sorry, dfsanddynasty@gmail.com.
That review warmed my heart. It touched me. It was deep. I liked it.
Also, oh man, we have so much stuff going on right now. We are fully ready. You DFS people, this episode might not be for you, but the next one will. We have it set up now where our DFS lineups are for sale. They are just $5 a week. And what you get from this is you get multiple lineups for FanDuel and DraftKings for several different formats, 50-50 contests, 1 versus 1, tournament games, and pick'ems. We're going to have each one of those for you guys each week for just $5. Or if you want, you can buy the whole season's worth, which is even more than the season because we're going all the way through the Super Bowl. So that is 21 weeks for only $60. Like this, we're basically giving it away and doing way too much research. But this is out there for you guys, and we want you to kind of try that. So head over to the site, eatsleepfantasy.com, hit subscribe, scroll down, and you will see the DFS option there. We are going to be making some money together, guys. Is happening.
And what is there to lose? Because, if you lose and your team sucks that week, we're your fall guy. You don't have to hate yourself and kick your dog or whatever. You just say, I hate Eat Sleep Fantasy.
No,
John,
I hate Steve. I hate Steve right now.
No, they need to hate you too. How about, I hate you every day. I've already called your face stupid twice in this episode. So
it is a stupid face. I looked in the mirror this morning. I did.
See, they probably scared the shit out of you, didn't it?
It wasn't nice. All right. Couple other things real quick. Eat Sleep Fantasy is also giving away a signed Rudy Rudiger helmet. It's a Notre Dame helmet, and he has his original speech, the 5'0" written on there and signed himself. So that is over there right now. If you haven't done so, just look up Eat Sleep Fantasy on Twitter and retweet that tweet. I retweet that tweet. Is that how you say it?
Retweet the tweet.
There we go. So go do that.
Tweety bird, tweety.
And last of the housekeeping, Thrive Fantasy, which is pretty fun if you haven't done it. We have a link on eatsleepfantasy.com. Just scroll down on the homepage and you'll see the logo there. Click on it and sign up. If you deposit $10, you get $5 back. And what it does is it's very similar to FanDuel and DraftKings, but it's much more user-friendly in the sense that you get more points for individual things. So very similar contest, but they have things for baseball and basketball and all that kind of stuff. So head over there. That's a great way to support the show. But now let's get back to content. Sorry about that. That was a lot. So what do we got next?
Oh, all right. Nap time's over. All right. No. So we had a few listeners reach out to us about breaking down formats: standard, half PPR, full PPR. So let's just kind of talk about that briefly and how it affects our draft strategy in each format. We'll start out with standard. Standard format, you're basically taking PPR, half PPR out of the equation. You're taking Superflex. You could still do Superflex and standard, but if you just go to a pure standard format, you're even, in my opinion, taking that out of the window. So you're looking at the overall value of these players, and all of a sudden, stats like touchdowns, interceptions, fumbles, things like that become way more relevant than half PPR or full PPR, which can kind of mask some of those blemishes in your stats every week. So, I'm a heavy running back guy. I always like, regardless of my format, I like having depth at running back. But in standard formats, I'm looking at running backs that are touchdown hogs. I don't care if you get 150 carries or 300 carries, 300 carries preferably, because you're going to get more stats. But I want guys that are going to score touchdowns. That's mainly what I'm looking at in standard formats.
Yeah, so I couldn't have said it better. It basically, if you're in a standard league, it shrinks the amount of talent that is available to you, and it makes it much harder to get those elite guys. So just to put this in perspective, the only wide receiver to score double-digit touchdowns 2 years in a row is whom, Steven? Do you know? Back-to-back 10 touchdowns or more the last 2 years. Who is the only one?
Wide receiver?
It is a wide receiver. Well, yeah, only talking about wide receivers here.
Damn, I should know this, but I'm going to say Antonio Brown.
Oh, you are incorrect, good sir. The correct answer is Devontae Adams. And so it turns
because he had 10 exactly 1 year, and I think he had 12 last year.
Yep, that is correct.
Yeah.
And so that's what it does, is it moves everything over to just focusing on touchdowns. And so it's going to have 100 catches. That doesn't matter. That's not what's important. You need those touchdown type guys, and it makes running backs even more valuable. So that's what standard I'm looking for. You throw receptions out the window. You are looking for touchdowns and touchdowns only.
Mm-hmm. So the next format we want to look at is half PPR. Now, why don't you go ahead with this one, John, and then I'll step in after that.
Half PPR is a wonderful middle ground. This is for your old, if you're in an old league with a bunch of old guys that don't like change and all that stuff, you got to get them the hell out of a standard league. That's boring as hell. It's like watching paint dry. What are you doing there? Be better. Don't buy generic cereal. Go get the name brand, right? And that's what half point PPR is. It creates so many more valuable plays in fantasy, because if a guy has 100 catches, okay, that's 50 points in half point PPR. And that's equivalent to, I'm not great at math, but that's equivalent to about 8 or 9 touchdowns in standard scoring. So it creates so many more players, and it opens up your strategy a lot more.
I love how you just compared cereal to half PPR.
I'm kind of hungry.
That did make me hungry. And
we are eat, sleep.
You want to know what? This is the third time that I'm going to say I hate your face, and I think it's stupid. But
it's welcomed. It's okay. About 10 more times and we'll be tied.
Fair enough. So half PPR for me, yeah. I mean, I'm still looking for players that are touchdown heavy in this. But if we've talked about tiers before. And you're sitting in your middle rounds and you're looking at your tiers regardless of the position. We've talked about roster construction, so what your team needs are, so on and so forth. If you're looking at a guy that you feel in half PPR is going to outperform certain players with touchdowns, you take that guy. Or if you feel like there aren't a whole lot of touchdown guys out there, then you're taking the guy at a half PPR value. So, like you said, it's the middle ground. And I think this is where you really look at tiers even more than you would at standard or full PPR.
Yep. Yeah. It's, again, if you are in a league and you're trying to get it to be more exciting, I strongly recommend half point. I think the majority of leagues are half point now.
Yeah, I'd say a very big percentage of them are.
And eventually, I think everything will get to the last one that we're going to talk about, and that's full point PPR, point per reception. And that is where it should be, because it reflects a little bit more the way the NFL is played today. So for every single catch, you get a full point, which is bananas. You get excited for screen passes and all those things. It makes the game much more fun. And actually, my favorite plays in full point PPR is those receiving running backs. Somebody like David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, because in that format,
Well,
those
look what
guys.
Le'Veon Bell does with the amount of touchdowns that he gets. I mean, he's just dominant in full PPR.
Yeah, and he doesn't get touchdowns.
Yeah,
So he's
exactly.
not a touchdown guy. So if you're in standard, Le'Veon, he's still valuable. He's still RB1, but he's nowhere near elite. However, you jump down to a full PPR, and it's just, I mean, his value just goes up tenfold. He's everything. So he finishes the number 2 guy last year in full point PPR. But if you jump down to standard, I think he finished 8th or 9th off the top of my head. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where he finished.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close.
So, but when you get those guys that are receiving backs and rushing monsters as well, it's almost like you are getting a bonus player in your roster. And then you can also mask inefficiencies with guys like Cooper Kupp is a beast, right, in PPR because he's getting 5 catches every single game and has a very safe floor. So I prefer full point. What about you? If you had to pick, which one would you go with?
I kind of I like half or full. I mean, it also depends on what your roster construction looks like and all that stuff. How many roster spots you can have, how many you're starting, what you're starting. But I would say the most fun point wise is full PPR because even with that, you still get, everybody loves their bonuses. Bonuses are always a big part of format. So you can see some pretty high scoring games in full. I don't care what position you play, wide receiver or running back. I want to see targets. I want to see receptions. Those are the guys that I'm going to draft within tiers. I mean, the guy, if I miss out on the girlies, the David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, any of those guys, I'm okay with taking a guy like Christian McCaffrey as a low end RB1, which that's what he's going to be in PPR only. So I'm okay with guys like that. And then going down the line and drafting players such as Chris Thompson, drafting players such as Tariq Cohen, Dion Lewis, Rex Burkhead, James White, guys that just running backs that have a history of being receiving backs that are going to catch anywhere from 50 and to what we saw last year between Kamara and McCaffrey, 80 balls a year, and David Johnson's very capable of catching 80 balls a year. So, I mean, that's what a lot of receivers in the NFL, that's what their reception total is at the end of the year. So you're really getting the same guy at a different position. You know what I mean? So it's that I mainly full PPR. I'm looking at targets, receptions. And that's how I draft. So,
all right, this is going to be the last part of this episode, and I like it. This is for the studs that have stayed with us. And what we're going to do, Steve and I are going to go through and give each one of our kind of buy now guys whose value is going to shoot up very early in the season. So we're going to give you a wide receiver, a running back, and a tight end, and we're going to bounce back and forth. Let's start off with the wide receiver position. Again, these are dynasty trade targets to go get now because you can get them relatively cheap for where they're going to be eventually. My first guy, I've talked a lot about this offseason, Corey freaking Davis. He is a beast.
I love how everybody has some sort of middle name with you.
If you excite my emotions, you're getting a damn middle name. Like that's wow. You need a nickname. And so Corey freaking Davis is freaking awesome. I love his talent. Man, he was so fun watching him in college. He had a lot of injuries last year. He's playing a stupid offense. And now he's finally he's healthy and he's playing in a system that fits his skill set. So go get this guy. He is going to be a wide receiver 2 at worst and possibly a wide receiver 1. Think about the offense at the Rams and how they throw the ball like crazy and are very efficient. Man, I love me some Corey Davis. I am trying my hardest to get him in all leagues, but I still got a couple more. I got to go get them.
I think that Tennessee is going to run a lot this year, but I think you're going to see Mariota throw more than anybody would expect to in this offensive scheme. So, yeah, Corey Davis is a guy you could sneakily snag.
Sneakily snag.
You like that?
I did. That was good.
See?
Who's your wide receiver that you like?
My man, Jamison Crowder. Go ahead and give him a middle name if you want, but Jamison Crowder. So why I like, yeah, right. Jamison Clam Crowder. So I don't know. That's kind of dumb, but whatever.
We're having a good time.
So we've already talked about him a little bit earlier in this episode, and I've had a lot of love for Crowder. Even from his rookie year on, I've seen a lot of upside with this guy, and he was one that kind of flew under the radar coming out of Kentucky into the NFL. And what I really like about him and what intrigues me the most about him is we've talked about Alex Smith and his habits and how he has been successful in his career with his targets. And he does not like to throw into coverage whatsoever. And Jamison Crowder gets great separation. He is one of the better wide receivers in the entire NFL that creates separation. And he is trying to think now, because this was something that I read a couple weeks ago, but I want to say he averages like 2 to 3 yards of separation per reception through his career, not just out of a season, through his career. So the guy clearly gets separation. He's a good route runner. He's a shifty guy. He has good hands. So he's one of these guys that, talking about full PPR, I'm expecting his target volume to climb this year and his reception number to climb this year. I know a lot of people were expecting that out of him last year. Just some things were very unfortunate in Washington last year. The expectations of Doxson, bringing in Pryor, although I knew Pryor was going to be a bust because there was no way he was going to see the target volume that he saw in Cleveland. So things kind of fell off with Crowder last year, and I don't think there's a whole lot standing in his way this year.
I like it. Well, let's move over to running backs. Running back position kind of drives fantasy, and this is a guy that the news helped him out even more this week, Isaiah Crowell. Yeah. I love me some Isaiah. He is an absolute beast whenever it comes to running between the tackles and is very, very explosive, and he is going to be featured. He is
Let the crow fly, baby.
That's right. He's going to be one of those guys that is a possible 3-down back. Especially with Elijah McGuire out. Like, this is a guy that could have 300 touches before the season is over. And if that's the case, man, watch out.
Because you're getting him free right now too.
Yeah, he's so cheap. And everything that he does, I mean, he's been very successful. If you go back to, I've talked about this a little bit. Played for the Browns last year. They had no clue what the hell they were doing. Again, Crowell he's very, very young. He's only 25. He had a 60-yard touchdown run in the second quarter and then didn't get another carry the rest of the game. That happened last year. That's stupid. So
you have been so pissed off about that particular game with Isaiah Crowell.
It was ridiculous. Like, as a coach, you just had your most explosive play of the whole year. What are you going to
Cleveland. Do? It's
Let's
Cleveland, man.
Not play him anymore. Oh, anyway,
it's Cleveland. What do you?
I like Crowell. Go get him.
The fighting Crowells.
The fighting Crowells.
Oh God, that's awesome. So
who's your running back?
Let me talk about Joe Mixon for a minute. So I've talked about him before, and one of the biggest things I want people to focus on with him, and I'm going a little bit more of a sexier name than Isaiah Crowell. We've seen what Mixon has done in college and what he's capable of. Being a rookie last year, mind you, they switched offensive coordinator. So he, as a rookie, had to learn 2 different systems last year. Did not start a game until week 9. And as the season progressed from week 9, he got a little more comfortable. He kept seeing more touches and he kept producing. Nothing crazy, but he had good, solid production. Now, coming into an off season, he's gotten through his rookie season. He's gotten through the headache of the switch of offensive coordinators. He's able to work with this guy, the system. Cincinnati's offense is getting some pieces back. Hopefully they all stay healthy. So things could potentially open up for Bill Lazor, Andy Dalton, AJ Green, and then Joe Mixon. So the capabilities that this guy has, because from Jeremy Hill as they already should have. But Gio Bernard is still there, but I really don't think Gio is going to affect Mixon all that much. Gio will still be involved. He'll still have his role, but Mixon can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So he is a guy that I think you can get not extremely cheap. I think you'll still have to give up something for him a little bit, but I'm expecting his value to climb and be that RB1 and be, I don't know if I want to say top 5, but just outside of that, he's going to be a valuable running back.
Ooh, that's impressive, man. That's pretty high. I'm not the biggest Joe Mixon guy, but man, I can see it. His talent is there. Now let's jump over to tight end, and I'm going with a homer pick. I've tried to behave myself. I'm going George Kittle, the San Francisco 49ers. And the funny thing is I wrote this up yesterday, and then at today's practice during team drills, there was maybe 14 pass plays with the first team out there, offense out there.
I saw a different name in there in these notes yesterday, and
no, it was in there. It was in there.
I know, I'm just messing with you.
So out of about 14 pass plays, 5 of them went to Kittle. He caught all 5 and had a 25-yard touchdown during that time. That was just today during team. Like he solidified himself as the tight end 1 for the 49ers, which we all knew. But what people don't understand, like his yards per catch and broken tackles, they're up there with Gronk numbers. Like he is a beast. And so I don't think he is Gronk. I don't think that at all. But the 49ers throw the ball far more times than the New England Patriots do. And he was 6th in the league for red zone targets. So he's a guy that's going to be getting some touchdowns. So I have him leading the 49ers in touchdown receptions, actually, for my projections. So George Kittle, I like him.
Yay, George Kittle. I like George Kittle too. That's why he's on one of my dynasty teams. So
who's your tight end? Who do you love?
Jake Butt. I mean, his last name's Butt. I really don't think I need to go further than that. Do I?
Draft him.
That's it. Flag is planted. No. So, I mean, living here in Michigan, grew up a big U of M fan, still am to this day. Enjoyed Jake Butt being there and being an integral part of that offense and a great leader for that team. And he's fought through some knee injuries, and Denver saw the upside in him, drafted him last year. They were very smart about not even playing him at all last year, even if he was progressing well and was able to play. They just said, you know what? We know what you're capable of. We're taking you. Get 100%. We want you in camp 100%. For the 2018 season. Now, this is a guy that this is one of the things that they're talking about. The coaching staff, Case Keenum, he is a guy that's going out there and he's leading that tight end battle right now. He's demanding the ball. He wants the ball. He's going out there. He's a great run blocker. He's doing everything. He wants to be on the field. The guy's a competitor. The guy's a leader. I've watched it, as I said, for a few years in Michigan. Love what this guy brings to the table. I really like with the wide receivers that they drafted this year. I already like the fact that they paired him with the wide receivers that they already had. They just needed to find a quarterback. Case Keenum, I think, can be serviceable. He obviously proved it last year with a fairly good run game, a good defense, which Denver's defense is going to lack a little bit.
He threw his very first interception today, a week into training camp with no interceptions in team drills, 7-on-7 or team. His very first interception came a week into practice. He's lighting it up down there.
Yeah, so he's doing just fine. So I really like all the upside that Jake Butt brings to the table. And this is a guy that I think you can get pretty cheap. He's probably a guy that you can even go out on your freaking waiver wire and pick him up. Yeah, exactly. This is like PD kids show. No, it's really not.
No, it's not. You say fuck.
What the fuck are you talking about?
All right. So, real quick as we wrap up, that is Steven. You can follow him on Twitter at SSPAC21, SSPAC21. You can follow me on Twitter at JL_Chapman. And again, we got 4 spots left in the listener league to win that free championship belt trophy. Again, all you got to do is go leave us a 5-star hilarious review, screenshot it, email us at dfsanddynasty@gmail.com, and that will do it. Steve, speak your mind.
So another place you guys can follow me is the Eat Sleep Fantasy Instagram page. And as we've talked about many times, go out on the website, ESFU, Draft Kit, Content. One of our writers, JJ, just put out an amazing article this week. Very valuable. Yeah, that was a very good article. And you guys really need to go out there and read that because it's valuable information with draft season right here and around the corner. So go out there, check all that shit out, start doing your damn homework because preseason's officially here. We're a few weeks away from the real deal.
That's it. All right, man. Peace out.
Peace out.